is Jeff Kochenberger, a Central High School math teacher, my friend, the golf partner who puts up with me, and I don't want any remarks from you, but it's the truth, he puts up with me. And he's just going to give us some of the do's and the don'ts of the teaching world. So, Jeff Kochenberger. So, Mr. Kochenberger, tell us a little bit about why you wanted to become a teacher.
All right, so I come from a family of teachers, so I kind of grew up that way. Their schedule, seeing how much they love being in the classroom and love being around kids. But that's not originally what I did. Coming out of college, I had a degree in computer science and I got a degree in industry, and I worked there for 11 years. I had a minor in math. I got laid off. The company closed its doors. So at that point, I had that minor in math. I said, hey, might as well finish this up and get my endorsement. So I did, and got a job at Central High School here in Pueblo, and I was there for 20-some years, 23 years.
Did you have to go the student teaching and all that stuff?
I did. So I did have to student teach.
Well, walk us through the student teaching. The ups, the downs, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Well, when I was in school to become a teacher, the professor said you cannot work. And at this time I hadn't been laid off. I mean, we knew it was coming. So I had a full-time job working out in the industrial park, and then I student taught. So I'd work from 3 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night, and then go home and then get up in the morning and try to student teach, which I don't recommend for anybody.
Now, where'd you student teach at?
County High School.
And you student taught in math?
I did.
And who was the teacher you?
Mrs. Cameron and Mrs. Weiler. I actually had two. It was sweet.
And now let's talk about Mrs. Weiler. You worked with her. She's a legend in this town.
Yes,
what a great lady. Why was she such a great teacher?
You know what? She just had a heart for kids, I think, and she enjoyed what she did. She was very smart. She helped me tremendously on learning how to become a teacher, how to be prepared, and that's why I think she was such a good teacher, mainly because she loved kids, and I think she liked being in the classroom.
So, any great memories from student teaching with a kid or anything like that, or?
I would say it was more of a lesson. Working until 11, there were times when I just said, hey man, I can't put a lesson together. And I would try to wing it the next day, and I gave horrible lessons. I mean, I was done in 10 minutes and still had another 40 minutes to kill, and it was not good. So a big lesson I learned from student teaching was be prepared.
Oh, that's a great lesson. Yeah. Be prepared, man.
Be prepared.
Be prepared. That's a real good. When you were going to school and you're in school, is there a teacher or two teachers that you had that you look back and go, they were great teachers?
I guess from the science side, you know, I had a couple math teachers. I went to South High School in the late 70s, and I had a couple.
Late 70s?
Yeah, I graduated in 1980. So.
Well, when you were a kid, there were only like 3 chapters in history. I'm not saying anything about your age or anything.
So that's why I didn't get into history too much. It was all math.
So you had these great teachers at South High School.
Yeah, they were good teachers, and they were.
Why were they great teachers?
You know, they had, I would say, great classroom management. They controlled the class, not in a mean way. I mean, you liked them. They had an ability to keep the class flowing, keep control of the kids in the class, and then actually teach the content to where you want to pursue some further things, either in that area or, you know, science areas, that type of thing.
So you student teach, and now it's time to apply for a job, right? So
yeah.
Just walk us through how many applications you had to fill out, how hard was it, how did you get the job?
I was really lucky. So when I got done student teaching, I probably worked another year before they said, hey, we're closing the plant on a certain date. Well, this was like in September. School had already started, so At that point, I started putting feelers out because I thought I was probably going to be laid off for a while with nothing to do. A math job came up in November at Central High School, which doesn't happen very often. So that was my only one interview, and I was lucky enough, probably one of the few guys that actually applied for a job in November, but I was able to get that.
What was that like starting in November?
Well, you guys saw Chuck Kochenberger. He was at Central also, so I came in there. There was some familiarity. I'd worked as a basketball coach in the school before that, so I think the kids knew of me, some of them, but it was a tough situation. And first year teaching, it was kind of rough.
Coming in midstream,
yes.
Too, makes it. So you're a coach. Could you give a reason to some of our students? Why should they be a coach?
Coaching was fun. I don't know any other way to say it. It is fun working with kids. It is fun being outside the classroom and seeing a kid or group of kids passionate about something else besides something in school. And coaching's a kind of an outlet for me, or it was, to have some fun instead of just being a strict job. I really enjoyed the coaching part of it, not that I didn't enjoy the teaching part of it that much. But
Favorite coaching memory?
man, I got a bunch. We had a lot of good basketball. I helped Brad Ranson coach basketball at Central for 20-some years, so we had a lot of kids go through there. But I would say probably my favorite would be just time spent in practice. It was just practice. It wasn't particular games or anything. It was, just being with the kids, working with the kids, and something fun happened in practice, and seeing kids show up every day. It's just kind of fun stuff like that.
That's really good. So let's go back to the classroom.
Certainly.
Classroom management. That's hard for all of us. It's hard for
Yes,
me.
it is.
It's hard for everybody. Go over some mistakes you made, what you learned, and give us some tips for some great classroom management.
Again, the mistakes I made were trying to wing it, showing up unprepared. I think coming into a class with a lesson plan, and I used to have to write my lesson plans out. I wasn't one of those guys that could wing it and look at a little card. So I would write my lesson plan on a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, whatever it was, front and back, depending on what it was. In math, I would set up, the objectives for the day, the examples I was going to go over in class, and I would even think about the possible errors kids would come up with, the questions they would come up with. So that was just the way I had to do things. And if I stayed with my lesson plan, if it was pretty structured, classroom management kind of took care of itself. Because you got to keep I always thought you had to keep the kids busy.
That's good. So with the classroom management, do you have any examples of times that you just, you had a tough experience with the kid?
Oh yeah, I've had many tough experiences, and I don't know where I got this. It may have been from one of my family members who was a teacher, but they said try to handle as much as you can in the classroom before you go to an administrator. So that was kind of my mindset. I was going to try to handle the situation if I could. If it got too rough, I always would just tell the kid to leave. I'd just say, hey, you got to go now. Get him outside, and then I would contact the office and say, hey, listen, Johnny, I just sent Johnny out. He's in the hall. I don't know if he's wandering around, but I needed to get him out of the classroom, and that was very rare. Usually, if I handled the situation in the classroom, just try to do my best. But that is very tough. Again, structured lesson plan. That's kind of like the best classroom management you can have.
That's really good. Have you ever woke up one morning and said, or went to bed at night, I want to quit? I've had it.
Yes. There's some kids will test you, and there'll be some there'll be some situations where you're just saying, man, I don't know if this is worth it, but the majority of the kids, 95% of the kids are awesome and they're fun to be around. And then you got those 5% that kind of wreck the whole thing. And if you can learn to just kind of say, okay, I'm going to focus on these 95%, I'm going to try to handle those 5% the best I can and do a good job with them. Sometimes they'll come around. A little point, I've had kids that I kicked out of class and really had trouble with, probably flunked, and I see them later on in life, and they come up and they give me a hug, Mr. Koch, how you doing? You know, they grow up and they mature a little bit, and for some reason they're not angry. I always figured those kids would be angry with me, but I really haven't run into that yet.
Well, that's
I'm still young.
Everybody always wants to know this question. Don't take it real personal. How much money do you make as a teacher?
Starting off, so this is pretty good. So when I was back in 1996 is when I started teaching, my first year teaching. And again, I started in November, so it wasn't a full salary. But I went from, in industry, I was making about $45,000 a year in '96, and I went to $22,000 a year to teach. So I took about a 50% cut in pay to teach. And then by the end of my time with coaching and everything, I was making about $65,000. So it wasn't too bad.
And what about some of the other benefits of teachers? About being a teacher, what are some of the benefits?
The benefits for me, like I mentioned earlier, my family, I come from a family of teachers, so I had 4 kids of my own, and one of the benefits of teaching is the schedule. So you have the same schedule as your kids, you're off on weekends, you're off in the summer. The time you spend in school isn't that bad. I mean, you're done by 3 if you coach. You're there a lot later, and that takes a lot of time. But I would say the schedule, you're not doing it for the money. You're doing it for, you know, the schedule and helping out the community and being part of the community and you know, helping kids in their lives. I think that's why people become teachers.
Super. Now talk to us about Central High School. Sometimes Central gets a bad rap. I've been in that building, and every time I've been in there, I just come out with, wow, what an incredible, great school that is. Talk to us about Central.
I love being at Central. I sent all 4 of my children to that school, even though we live closer to South High. It just, when you work at a tougher school that some people perceive as tough, I think the people you work with, the kids you work with are more genuine. You don't have to deal with petty things. They have real life problems, and not that doesn't happen at the other schools, but I think, I don't know, from my experience, the Central kids were genuine, authentic, same with the staff. I didn't have to deal with any offside, and that's what I loved about the school, and that's why we sent our kids there.
That's really good. Talk to us about parents. You know, we've had some stories from other teachers how sometimes parents can be a little bit difficult. Do you have any challenges in that area?
A couple. You know, when we talked about 9/11, and I talked about how, you know, this could start a war, and to my class during that day, I had a parent that complained to our principal that you know, I'm telling the class that we should go to war, and kind of mistook what I said, and it turned into kind of a big hullabaloo, but it wasn't that big a deal. And for the most part, and this is just my experience with Central parents, they're very supportive, and it might be a lower income school situation, but I didn't have a lot of problems with parents and me giving grades. I know of other teachers at other high schools that are more affluent, not necessarily in Pueblo, but they have a lot of parent problems. If they give a kid a B, the parent thinks the kid should be straight A's. So there's some benefits to teaching at lower income schools. There's benefits to teaching at higher income schools. It's something you gotta think about.
Okay. parents at the coaching level, any trouble there?
Coaching is always, parents always think their kids should be going to play college ball somewhere, and you always have trouble with parents with kids playing time and things like that. So I don't think that changes at any school, but no matter what the socioeconomic situation.
Yeah. Tell us why, the question is, they always ask, tell me why I should be a teacher.
One, great profession. You go into it enjoying what you're doing. You're not going in it for the money. Like I mentioned, I made 50% less than what I made in industry, and that probably would have been the trend. I probably would have made a lot more money, but I had a nice career. I'm not, most of my buddies that were in industry, they're still in industry. I'm retired already. Teaching affords you the ability to teach as long as you want, or if it's time to get out, you get out. And plus the benefit, kids keep you young for some reason. I don't know if that's your, Tim, if you kind of see that, but working with kids keeps you young. It's a great profession. It is a great profession to work with people. It really is.
I know somebody wanted to ask you this question. Why math? And it was why math? Why teach math?
Everybody has a bent in life, and I was, even in elementary school, I not necessarily enjoyed math. I was just okay. I was better in it. I understood math more than I understood English, nouns, pronouns, adjectives. Man, I just didn't, that just didn't click with me. But math, algebra, that stuff kind of clicked with me. So that's just, I just went in that direction. It wasn't something that I thought I needed to do. And there's a big need for math teachers, so if you kind of enjoy math and you like that stuff, man, there's some jobs out there for you.
Is there anything our students should be doing right now that would help get them ready for the teaching world?
Man, teacher education, as far as going through school to become a teacher, is kind of tough, because I would say spend some time in a classroom. When I was going, my first real experience in the classroom was student teaching. And if I would have hated it at that point, look at all that schooling that some people go through, and then they student teach and say, hey, this isn't for me. And so I would say, if you have a chance, spend some time in a classroom and just see what it's like, and maybe get a chance to teach a little lesson here or there.
Just a few more questions.
Sure.
You're almost through this. But what personality traits do teachers really need to have to be successful?
I've seen all types of personalities being teachers, so we got the, how science teachers are. But I think most teachers are people persons. How do you say that?
I think that's good.
Okay, they like being around people, and you got to enjoy being around kids. If you don't like being around kids, I don't know if education's for you. Whether it's the elementary age kids, if that's what you kind of enjoy doing, or even the high school age kids, you got to enjoy being around them to, I think, be successful in being a teacher.
I love this question. If you were magically superintendent of District 60, what would you change, if anything?
Boy, I'm kind of old school, so I wish the superintendent would just, she's the boss, make a decision, and that's the way it's going to be. For example, this COVID stuff, I know it's a tough thing. I mean, she should have just, instead of picking 3 different options for parents to choose, man, just say, listen, we're going to go 2 days a week on, 2 days online. And I don't know if that's the best. I'm just saying, if she would have just made a decision. I know my sister has 2 kids in high school, and she didn't know what to do. She was flipping out about what decision to make, and if a superintendent would just make the decision and then just go with it. I mean, she's the boss. She has that ability to do that.
Yeah, tough job though.
It is a tough
Man.
job, very tough job.
You couldn't. That's even a hard question to answer. But
No,
you did a great job with that question. 2 things left.
Yes.
You're retired now. What don't you miss? What do you miss?
I do miss being around the kids. There are, like I said, there are personalities that you deal with in the class every day that are just fun to be around, and I miss that. I miss the coaching part of it. You get to see kids compete. You get to kind of see students at their best. That I miss. I guess I don't. I enjoy retirement, and there's a lot of things I enjoy about being out of school. So I don't miss the politics. I don't miss some of the newer things that are coming along to where, for example, at Central High School, our test scores aren't that great, so they're bringing in outside entities and they try to teach the same thing that we learned a long time ago as math teachers, and that's kind of tough to do, to try to deal with that kind of thing.
Well, I want to, Mr. Kochenberger. Thank you so much. What a great teacher from Central High School.
Well,
Hall of Famer. He should be on the wall. Yeah, you're a Hall of Famer, brother. What a great guy. And boy, you impacted so many kids for so long. You have changed the future, my friend, because you love kids and you taught at Central High School and you did a great job, my friend. Everybody give him a whoop.